Across the world, snakes strike fear into the hearts of many. Japan is no exception. The islands of Japan are home to a variety of snake species. Some are harmless, others pose a significant threat to humans. Among the most feared is the habu snake, a venomous pit viper. For generations, the people of Japan have lived with the ever-present danger of snake bites. The habu snake, in particular, instilled fear with its potent venom. A bite from a habu snake could lead to severe injury. In some cases, it proved fatal. Medical treatment was often necessary. However, access to medical care was limited, especially in rural areas. The fear of snake bites was a constant worry for many Japanese citizens. The government sought a solution. They wanted to protect their people. They needed to find a way to control the snake population. The number of snakebite incidents was a serious public health concern. The government invested in research and explored various methods of snake control. Traditional methods such as trapping and hunting proved insufficient. They needed a more effective solution. This is where the idea of introducing a natural predator emerged. Could a predator help control the snake population and reduce the risk of snake bites? The search for a solution took researchers beyond Japan. They looked for a natural predator to control the snake population. Their search led them to the mongoose, known for their ferocity and ability to kill venomous snakes. Introducing mongooses to Japan seemed promising. Mongooses would be brought to Japan. The mongooses were released into the wild, but the crucial step of assessing the impact was overlooked. The introduction of mongooses to Japan marked the beginning of a biological experiment with unintended and far-reaching consequences. While the intention was noble to protect the human population from venomous snakes, the plan was flawed from the start. The ecological balance of Japan's delicate ecosystems was about to be disrupted. The stage was set for an ecological drama. The mongooses, introduced as a solution, would soon become a problem themselves. Their arrival would trigger a chain of events. These events would have a profound impact on the island's native flora and fauna. The mongoose's impact would extend beyond the snake population. They would leave their mark on the very fabric of Japan's natural heritage. The consequences of this biological intervention would reverberate for generations to come. The introduction of the mongooses serves as a cautionary tale. It highlights the importance of careful consideration and thorough ecological assessments before introducing any alien species into a new environment. The law of unintended consequences often plays out in unpredictable ways. Nature's delicate balance can be easily disrupted, leading to unforeseen and often irreversible damage. In the early 20th century, the first mongooses arrived on Japanese shores. They were brought from India to combat venomous snakes. The people of Japan welcomed them with hope. Small and agile, mongooses were fierce snake hunters. Releases targeted high snake population areas. Farmers believed they would protect their livestock, but the ecological impact was not understood. The mongooses became agents of disruption. Section 2. The mongoose and the habu, a mismatched battle. Mongooses, known for killing venomous snakes, faced a challenge in the habu. The habu, a pit viper, used a unique ambush strategy. They lie in wait, camouflaged, and strike with speed. This strategy proved to be the mongoose's undoing. Mongooses are active hunters, not equipped for stealthy tactics. The anticipated battles rarely materialized. The habu continued to thrive, unaffected by the mongooses. Section 3. Beyond the target, the mongoose's expanding palate. The mongooses, finding the habu a formidable and elusive adversary, soon turned their attention to more readily available prey. The islands of Japan, rich in biodiversity, offered a veritable buffet for the opportunistic omnivores. Ground-nesting birds, their eggs and hatchlings became easy targets for the mongooses. Small mammals, reptiles and amphibians, unaccustomed to such a predator, were ill-equipped to defend themselves. The mongooses, with their adaptable nature and voracious appetites, began to decimate the populations of these native species. The impact was swift and devastating. Bird populations, once a vibrant part of the ecosystem, began to dwindle. Endemic species, found nowhere else in the world, faced the very real threat of extinction. The mongooses, initially heralded as saviors, were now revealed as a menace, their presence disrupting the delicate balance of Japan's ecosystems. The unintended consequences of their introduction were far-reaching, impacting not just the snake population but the very fabric of life on the islands. The mongooses, with their indiscriminate feeding habits, were transforming the landscape, leaving in their wake a trail of ecological destruction. Section 4, the silent invasion. Mongooses multiply, problems escalate. The mongooses, adaptable and with few natural predators in their new environment, began to reproduce rapidly. Their numbers swelled, and with each passing generation, their impact on the native wildlife intensified. What began as a localized effort to control snake populations had transformed into a silent invasion, the mongooses spreading across the islands, leaving a trail of ecological devastation in their wake. Farmers who initially welcomed the mongooses soon found themselves facing a new problem. The mongooses, their appetites insatiable, began to raid crops and poultry. The very creatures brought to protect their livelihoods were now threatening their sustenance. The government, faced with mounting evidence of the mongooses' destructive impact, was forced to acknowledge the failure of their plan. The mongooses, once seen as a solution, were now officially classified as an invasive species. Efforts to control their population began, but the damage had been done. The ecological balance had been disrupted, and the consequences would be felt for generations to come. The introduction of the mongoose into Japan's delicate ecosystem triggered a domino effect, setting off a chain reaction with far-reaching consequences. Each species within an ecosystem plays a crucial role, their relationships finely tuned over millennia. The arrival of the mongoose, a predator with no natural enemies in this new environment, disrupted this delicate balance. As the mongoose population exploded, their impact rippled through the food web. Native birds, particularly ground-nesting species, saw their populations plummet as the mongooses raided their nests, devouring eggs and chicks. Small mammals, reptiles and amphibians, already facing habitat loss due to human encroachment, found themselves hunted relentlessly by the adaptable predators. The decline of these species had a cascading effect. Insect populations, once kept in check by natural predators, began to surge. Crops suffered, and farmers faced increased losses. The ecological balance, once a symphony of interconnected life, was thrown into disarray. The mongooses, intended as a solution to a single problem, had become a catalyst for ecological instability. The native wildlife of Japan, having evolved in the absence of a predator like the mongoose, were ill-equipped to cope with the relentless onslaught. Ground-nesting birds, their nests vulnerable on the forest floor, suffered the brunt of the mongoose's attacks. Species like the Okinawa rail, a flightless bird found only on the islands of Okinawa, faced a dire threat to their survival. Small mammals, accustomed to a life of relative security, found themselves outmatched by the mongoose's agility and hunting prowess. The Amami rabbit, a critically endangered species found only on a few small islands in Japan, saw its already dwindling numbers further reduced by mongoose predation. Reptiles and amphibians, often slow-moving and reliant on camouflage, were easy prey for the mongooses. The Okinawa habu, a venomous snake already under pressure from habitat loss, faced a new threat to its existence. The mongooses, with their indiscriminate feeding habits, were pushing numerous native species towards the brink of extinction. The ecological tapestry of Japan was being unraveled, thread by thread, as the mongooses tightened their grip on the islands. The mongooses, highly adaptable and with an exceptional ability to thrive in diverse environments, quickly spread across the Japanese archipelago. Their initial releases, targeted at specific areas with high snake populations, proved to be a critical miscalculation. The mongooses, unconstrained by natural barriers, crossed rivers, swam to neighboring islands and hitched rides on boats, expanding their range with alarming speed. Their silent invasion went largely unnoticed at first. The mongooses, nocturnal by nature, conducted their reign of terror under the cover of darkness. By the time the full extent of their impact on native wildlife became apparent, it was often too late. Conservationists and scientists watched in dismay as the mongooses tightened their grip on the islands, their presence a growing threat to the delicate balance of Japan's ecosystems. The mongoose's rapid spread highlighted the interconnectedness of island ecosystems and the vulnerability of isolated species to invasive predators. It also underscored the importance of early detection and rapid response in managing invasive species, a lesson learned too late for many of Japan's native inhabitants. The mongoose, initially hailed as a savior by farmers hoping for protection from venomous snakes, soon revealed a different side to its nature. As their numbers surged, the mongoose's voracious appetites turned towards readily available food sources, crops and livestock. Farmers who had once welcomed the mongooses now found themselves facing a new threat to their livelihoods. Fields of sugarcane, a major crop in Japan, were raided for their sweet, juicy stalks. Poultry farms, once a source of income and sustenance, became prime targets for the mongooses who preyed on chicks and eggs. The mongoose's impact on agriculture extended beyond direct losses. Their presence led to increased use of pesticides and rodenticides, chemicals intended to control the mongoose population, but which had unintended consequences for other wildlife and the environment. The economic and social costs of the mongoose invasion mounted. Farmers, facing declining yields and increased expenses, struggled to maintain their livelihoods. As the devastating impact of the mongooses on Japan's native wildlife and ecosystems became undeniable, conservationists and scientists sprang into action. A sense of urgency gripped the nation as the realization dawned that time was running out for many endangered species. The challenge was immense. The mongooses, highly adaptable and with few natural predators, had established a firm foothold on the islands. Eradication efforts, though challenging, were deemed necessary to protect what remained of Japan's unique biodiversity. Trapping programs were implemented, but the mongooses, intelligent and wary, proved difficult to capture. Poison baits were deployed, but these carried the risk of harming non-target species. The search for effective and humane methods of control became a priority. Public awareness campaigns were launched, educating citizens about the threat posed by mongooses and encouraging their participation in control efforts. The fight to save Japan's native wildlife from the mongoose invasion had begun, a race against time to restore balance to a delicate ecosystem thrown into disarray. The introduction of the mongoose to Japan stands as a stark reminder of the unintended consequences that can arise from human interference in the natural world. What began as a well-intentioned effort to control snake populations spiraled into an ecological disaster, with far-reaching implications for Japan's biodiversity, agriculture, and economy. The story of the mongoose in Japan serves as a cautionary tale, highlighting the importance of careful consideration and a deep understanding of ecological principles before introducing any non-native species. It underscores the interconnectedness of ecosystems, where even seemingly small changes can trigger a cascade of unintended consequences. The lessons learned from the mongoose's introduction in Japan extend far beyond the shores of the islands. They serve as a global reminder of the need for responsible stewardship of our planet's biodiversity, a responsibility that falls on all of us. The Japanese government, faced with the mongoose's devastating impact, officially designated them as an invasive species. Farmers demanded action due to crop damage and livestock losses. The government, pressured by both the agricultural sector and scientists, began to seek effective solutions. Initial efforts to control mongooses focused on trapping, but the intelligent creatures often evaded capture. The failure of trapping highlighted the need for a more sophisticated approach. Researchers then considered chemical control methods despite potential risks to non-target species. Toxic baits, though controversial, were introduced to exploit the mongoose's feeding habits. Strict protocols minimized risks to non-target species, but public opposition grew due to unintended consequences. The ethical dilemma of using lethal methods sparked debates and a search for more humane solutions. Eradicating mongooses proved challenging due to their adaptability and reproductive rate. The fragmented Japanese archipelago posed logistical challenges. A long-term, multifaceted approach was needed to address the persistent threat. Success was achieved on some smaller islands through intensive trapping and public awareness campaigns. Specially trained dogs increased the effectiveness of eradication efforts. These victories provided valuable lessons and hope for larger-scale efforts. Okinawa's unique biodiversity faced a new threat from the mongoose. The island's endemic species, like the Okinawa rail, were particularly vulnerable. Swift and decisive action was needed to protect Okinawa's fragile ecosystem. A mongoose-proof fence was constructed to protect Okinawa's wildlife. The fence represented a bold experiment in invasive species management. Ongoing monitoring and public awareness were essential to its success. Northern Okinawa became a focal point for conservation efforts. Intensive trapping and specially trained dogs were deployed to protect the region. Public education campaigns enlisted local support in reporting mongoose sightings. The battle against the mongoose required ongoing vigilance and adaptive management. Regular inspections and trapping efforts were crucial to maintaining the mongoose fence. Public education and community engagement remained key components of the conservation strategy. The mongoose was introduced to Hawaii in the late 19th century to control rat populations. The decision, made with good intentions, failed to consider the ecological consequences. The mongoose's arrival led to an ecological disaster, threatening Hawaii's unique wildlife. The arrival of the mongoose in Hawaii marked the beginning of a dark chapter for the island's native wildlife. Birds, having evolved in the absence of mammalian predators, were particularly vulnerable to the mongoose's relentless hunting. Ground nesting species, their nests easy targets on the forest floor, suffered devastating losses. The Hawaiian honeycreepers, a group of colorful and diverse birds found only in Hawaii, were decimated by mongoose predation. These birds, once a symphony of songs and vibrant plumage, became symbols of the island's ecological tragedy. The iwi, with its scarlet feathers and distinctive curved beak, saw its numbers plummet. The oo, known for its haunting calls, was driven to extinction. The mongoose's impact extended beyond birds. Sea turtles, lumbering ashore to lay their eggs on sandy beaches, found their nests raided for their vulnerable hatchlings. The Hawaiian green sea turtle, already facing threats from habitat loss and fishing pressure, faced a new and relentless predator. The ecological balance of Hawaii's islands was irrevocably disrupted. The once harmonious symphony of life was silenced by the mongoose's insatiable appetite. Paradise, it seemed, had been lost, its unique and irreplaceable treasures sacrificed at the altar of human ignorance and ecological short-sightedness. The mongoose, a shared threat to Japan and Hawaii, elicited different responses. Japan embarked on eradication, determined to restore their ecosystems. Hawaii faced a more complex challenge. The mongoose, firmly established, proved difficult to eradicate. Public opinion was divided, seeing it as both a threat and a beneficial predator. Hawaii focused on control and mitigation, protecting critical habitats and managing populations. The mongoose, a reminder of the interconnectedness of ecosystems, continued to cast a long shadow over the island's natural heritage. Amidst the ongoing challenges of mongoose management, glimmers of hope emerged from unexpected corners of the Hawaiian Islands. On several smaller islands, where mongoose populations were either absent or limited, conservationists embarked on ambitious restoration projects, aiming to recreate lost havens for Hawaii's beleaguered native species. These islands, often referred to as Islands of Hope, became sanctuaries for endangered birds, reptiles and plants. Fences were erected to exclude mongooses and other invasive predators. Native vegetation was painstakingly replanted, providing food and shelter for returning wildlife. Captive breeding programs were established for critically endangered species, with the goal of releasing their offspring back into the wild. The success of these restoration projects, though limited in scale, offered a beacon of hope for the future of Hawaii's biodiversity. They demonstrated the remarkable resilience of nature, its ability to rebound when given the chance. They also highlighted the crucial role of human intervention, not just in mitigating the damage inflicted on the natural world, but also in actively restoring what had been lost. The Islands of Hope, though small and scattered, represented a powerful symbol of human ingenuity and compassion, a testament to the enduring belief that even in the face of ecological adversity, it is never too late to make a difference. The mongoose's introduction to Japan and Hawaii offered invaluable lessons for a world grappling with invasive species. These lessons transcended geographical boundaries, reminding us of the interconnectedness of ecosystems. The mongoose's legacy highlighted the need for caution and foresight in nature. It underscored the importance of thorough ecological assessments. The story emphasized public awareness and education. Conservation is an active process requiring commitment from all. The introduction of mongooses to Japan and Hawaii stands as a stark reminder of unintended consequences from well-intentioned human interventions. Aimed at solving snake bites in Japan and rat infestations in Hawaii, these actions unleashed ecological devastation. The mongoose became an instrument of ecological disruption, highlighting the unpredictable nature of ecological interactions. This serves as a cautionary tale for a global community facing the threat of invasive species. Introducing any species into a new environment is a gamble with entire ecosystems at stake. The stakes are high, with significant potential for harm and unintended consequences. Nature is a complex web where small changes can have profound ripple effects. Decisions on resource management and species introduction will impact future generations. The mongoose's legacy calls for humility and awareness of our incomplete understanding of nature. The mongoose introductions in Japan and Hawaii illustrate ecological dominoes, where a single species triggers unforeseen consequences throughout an ecosystem. Initially introduced to control pests, the mongoose became a threat to native species, disrupting the delicate balance evolved over millennia. In Japan, it spelled disaster for ground-nesting birds, small mammals, reptiles and amphibians. Many were already pressured by habitat loss. The decline affected insects, plants and soil, altering once pristine ecosystems. In Hawaii, the impact was equally devastating, decimating native birds, particularly Hawaiian honey creepers, and threatening sea turtles. The loss diminished biodiversity and disrupted pollination and seed dispersal, compromising ecosystem health. The mongoose's story underscores interconnectedness, highlighting the web of relationships sustaining life. Ecosystems are dynamic, vulnerable to disruptions. Introducing a single species like the adaptable mongoose can have far-reaching consequences, setting in motion a domino effect of disruption. The mongoose's tale of ecological disruption serves as a potent call to action, reminding us that the future of our planet's biodiversity rests in our hands. Preventing invasive species requires scientific research, policy development, and public education. Stricter border controls and regulations on exotic pets and plants are crucial. Raising public awareness and empowering individuals to protect local environments is essential. The fight against invasive species is a global challenge requiring international cooperation. While the mongoose's introduction to Japan and Hawaii left an undeniable mark on these islands' ecosystems, there is still hope for the future. Conservation efforts are underway to restore these fragile ecosystems. In Japan, eradication efforts have been successful on some smaller islands, providing hope for the recovery of native species. In Hawaii, the focus is shifting to long-term management and the creation of islands of hope. These efforts offer a beacon of hope, demonstrating that recovery is possible. We can restore these island paradises by learning from past mistakes and embracing responsible stewardship. Please like, share, and subscribe for more health and environmental awareness stories like